Hey guys, it's Ari and today I'm talking about college. Higher education. I'm talking about college, I'm talking about university, I'm talking about uni, I'm talking about everything that they teach you that you need to be ready for in high school. Just to give you some backstory about me, I am 20 years old and I graduated about 3 years ago, and I am not currently in college. Just to quickly run through it, when I was in high school, I knew I was going to college. Like, that's what they teach you in high school. They say you have to do this, 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 and this to get to college. Like, that's what they did. So, I took all my tests. I tried for a majority of my high school experience. I tried in school, made good grades, stuff like that. I tried, mostly. I also ran track when I was in high school. So, all throughout high school, I'm thinking like, I'm going to go to college and hopefully that I'm going to run track. And so when I got to my senior year, I went on a few college visits and I ended up visiting a school in Kentucky where I was actually going to run track. I had met with the coach and everything. We had talked, people on the track team, like I became friends with them. I had friends at that college. Like I was going there. That's what I knew I was doing before I ever graduated high school. Like I knew I'm gonna graduate high school, I'm gonna work out with this track team all summer, and then I'm going to college in Kentucky at the end of the summer. Even like my senior year, my 4x4 team made it to states, and my track coach from college was there. He watched me run. I spoke to him at the meet and everything. Like he was there, he saw me running. Like I was going to college to run track. That's what I always knew. And so I was on the track team for an entire summer. I was working out, I was doing the conditioning, I was doing the workouts, I was on the track team for an entire summer, 3.5 months almost. And then we get to like 4 days before I'm supposed to move to Kentucky. Now, if you don't know this, I live in Ohio. I don't think I've really said that before on this channel, I'm not sure, but I live in Ohio. And so, me going to Kentucky is not too far. My school was about 3 hours away from where I was living at the time. And so, it's not that bad, it's not too close, not too far away. But, for me to be moving to Kentucky, that's, a lot. My parents are pastors, and I know, that a part of my purpose, is ministry, which of course I didn't know this at the time. I mean, I did know that I had a part to play in that, so it all just kind of seemed weird. We just kept getting closer and closer to the time that I was supposed to move, and I hadn't bought anything for my dorm yet, hadn't bought a single book, hadn't bought even a notebook or anything like that. Like I just wasn't prepared for school. And then it just came down to like 4 or 5 days before I was supposed to move, and somebody who's really important to me in my life, just mentioned to me about, staying in Ohio. And, I take that very serious, and I was asking God to, give me a sign if, college in Kentucky is not what I'm supposed to do. So basically 4 or 5 days before I was supposed to move, God was like, sis, like that's not what you're about to do. Like you're not about to move over there. Like at the end of the day, sis, you're staying in Ohio. So he was like, of course, like I'm staying. I immediately after that enrolled myself into ministry school. And I know what you're thinking, ministry school, like what are you talking about? But at the end of the day, like I told you before, church is like a really big thing in my life. So I enrolled myself into ministry school, and I immediately began those classes later in that fall. And it's a 2-year program, and so I just was like doing that, and I was working for my parents at our church, and that was pretty much it. Every now and then you have those old church people who be like, so when you go to school, and how's school? And it's always an awkward answer of, oh, I'm in ministry school, actually, instead of saying like, oh, college is great or whatever. It's like, oh no, I'm in ministry school, thank you very much. And they'd be like, oh, that's great. Or people be like, oh, they kind of give you that look that's like, who does this girl think she is to not be going to college? But at the end of the day, that's just not where I was. And I remember I started thinking about going to college again, and this was around like the end of 2018, like around like the winter time of 2018. I was just thinking like, what if I do go to school this year? Like, it was just kind of a thought that I had, and I didn't really do much with that thought. And so I just happened to like apply to a few schools. I don't know, I think it ended up being like 2 or 3 schools that I applied to, but I ended up getting into all 3. And I got hella scholarships to most of them. I think to 2 of them. One school was like, I can give you this if you run track. But I mean, I was so out of shape. I wasn't about to run track at nobody's college after I had taken over a year off. But I remember I told my parents, like, I applied to college, and that's the other thing. I didn't really consult with my parents before I applied to college, knowing that I wasn't going to pay for school. And that sounds really like privileged and whatever, but I did grow up in a household where my parents mostly take care of everything for me as I was growing up. I didn't have a real job or a job at all until after I graduated high school, so I had no way to be paying for anything that I was ever doing. But I was just very blessed growing up, and but I told them, like, I have these scholarships, and like they were like, that's great. And at the end of the day, my tuition ended up being like pocket change because I had so many scholarships, and the tuition at this school particular was already low as hell. And so I started in the winter semester. So that brings us to January of this current year, 2019. I started college, and so I was 19 years old. I was a freshman in college, and I was taking only 3 classes because mind you, I'm in college, I'm in ministry school, and I'm working. Not to mention the fact that I am in a long distance relationship, and a lot of my friends live out of state, so that's just multiple long distance relationships that I am maintaining through all of this. And basically, school was great when I first started. I remember like calling my boyfriend and telling him like, everything's really great. Like I would tell him like class was really cool, this, that, and the other, and we would just talk about how great I was enjoying school. I would talk to my best friend because both of my bestie girlfriends, they're both in college, and so they was just like, they were excited to hear about my experience because they had both already been in college before me. And then I thought it was easy. I was maintaining great grades, I was doing well, and then for some reason at some point life just started to get really overwhelming for me. And I did have this one class that I really hated a lot, and I hated it from the beginning, but my professor was a psychopath. I'm gonna try to find footage because I used to try to record him in class all the time because he was literally weird.
Or he is acclaimed as Lord, then this raises the question.
His class just began to be a very big hindrance to me in just like everything. I would just go to his class and I would just not listen. I would read my Bible the entire time, like wanting to fill my mind with truth because he was saying so much BS that I just couldn't like take it. I remember that being like a big turnoff of school to me in that moment, was like, this class really sucks and I can't drop it because at that particular university you have to take a religion class to graduate, which I didn't know that when I scheduled my classes, but they were telling me like, it's just better to get it over with in your first year than having to do it in your senior year and like hating it because it's that bad. Like I said, it all started out fine and dandy. It was really easy at the beginning, and then I might be like a month, almost 2 months into school, and I just remember like being really overwhelmed and just like not enjoying school as much as I had before. And long story short, it just started to like just take over my life. I wasn't sleeping because I was in 2 schools at once. I was just up all night doing homework. I wasn't sleeping, barely had time to eat because of the way my schedule was set up. It was like I was in class all day long, and then when I wasn't in class, I was going to work because it's right up the street, and then it's like if I didn't have time to do that, I was doing ministry school when I wasn't at college. Like my schedule had just began to get very hectic, and I just felt like I didn't have time to really give my relationship with God the attention that it needed while I was trying to maintain all these things. And it actually ended up getting to the point of me, like, I remember talking to my best friend Lauren, and I was just like, it's just like a lot going on right now. Like I literally just feel like I can't keep up with everything. I wish I had like more of an explanation because looking back now, like I don't really understand any of it, but like I just needed to focus on school and my relationship with God and all kinds of stuff because I just felt like juggling all of it was just like, I was looking like Pennywise. So I just started to like rethink so many things during that time period of me just trying to, get my life together. I had just quit going to my religion class. I'm surprised that I didn't like fail that class. It was like, school just started to get really overwhelming for me. And I just, eventually made the decision to like not go to school because it was just really hard for me. Like I just ended up really anxious and depressed when I was in college. Like, I only made it like about 3.5 months, I think. But like, it all started like after like almost 2 months of me being in school. Like I just started not feeling the same about it. And then, like I said, I had to cut all these relationships, like put them all on hold to like function even properly a little bit, and I still wasn't really functioning great. It was just really like a sad time for me. Like at the end of the day, I just wasn't doing well. Basically, here I was just like literally like drowning in life. Like that's just what I felt like. And I'm one of those people that I don't like to just openly talk about the way that I feel. So I was just, pushing through, waiting for like an out. Like I was waiting for an opportunity for me to just mention to anybody at all, like that I really just can't do school. Like I hate it because I had gotten to the point of just hating college. Like I just hated my life. I just hated it all. Like it was horrible. And so I was journaling my thoughts down, like so I could, read it or send it to them. when I did talk to them, so it's like they didn't miss anything of what was going on in my life. And I remember like distinctly just writing down like, I really want to love school, but I don't. I really wanted to like enjoy my life being in college and being a college student, but I really just don't like it. Like I hate everything about school and I just wish that I could quit. You know, eventually one day my dad was just kind of like, you know, how's school? And I was just like, you know, like it's fine. It's good. So I remember he was just like, you know, asking, and then he was just like, okay. A few days later, I was just sitting with him. We were like, you know, my dad likes to take me on dates, that's what he calls it. And so we were just on like a little date or whatever. And he was like, man, I've got to get you out of school. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, it's just taking up all your time. Like, you know, I got to get you out of school. It sounded like he was joking, but not really. You know, if you know my dad, he does this thing where like, he'll say something in a joking manner, but he's really serious. So I was like, you know, he's serious about me like not being in school. So I was like, bet. Like, I didn't even have to tell him I didn't want to go anymore. He literally just told me to leave. So I went to school the next day and I withdrew. Like it was like that. And I didn't want to spend too much time thinking about it. That I didn't want to talk myself into staying and all that kind of stuff. Especially because I do understand that, you know, everything is ministry, but I'm here to be a part of ministry. I'm a singer, like that's what I do. And I was in school to become a counselor. Like, don't really know how that adds up to anything, but at the end of the day I can truly say that like me dropping out of college as soon as I did, like it was the best thing for me. And that's what I wanted to say at the beginning of this video that I didn't say, is like I understand that everybody is different and college is just not for everybody. But if it is for you, like, you know, I think that's great, and you know, I commend you because I think that's like something special. Like if you can really go to college and that's for you, like that's amazing. But it just wasn't for me. And at the end of the day, I don't think that people need to be so judgmental and critical when it comes to other people's decisions to go to school, because you never know, you know, what somebody is going through, or you know what their purpose is. Like, you know, somebody's purpose is to be a doctor. Like God wants them to be a doctor, so it's like you gotta go to school for that. But for me, like that's just, I had no business trying to go to college. Like to this day, I think, like looking back, I can admit that like I just felt like I was missing out on something, because some of my friends were in school at the time. And I actually went to college with one of my friends. Like I went to class with her one time, and I think that that just let me get like a taste of college life, and I just thought it would be fun. But I really think it was fun because I was with her, because I'm one of those people, like I thrive when I'm around my friends. Like me and my friends can be sitting around doing nothing and I will have the best time ever. Like I just like being around my friends, and I think that's what made college so much fun, was like I was in class with my best friend. You know, I talked myself into it, and it's one of those things, like I'm happy that I did do it, because now I can look back and I never have to wonder like what if I should have went to college, or what would have happened if I went to college. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things, it's like I know it's not for me, and so now I don't have to wonder. But I can honestly say that like college almost like legit ruined my whole life. Like if I would have stayed in college, who knows what I would be doing now. Like I could probably still be very like depressed, probably could still be very anxious, probably could still have 1,000 things going on. Who knows if I would have ever spoken to my boyfriend again? Who knows? Like who knows what would have happened to me if I really stayed in college. Like because my life is so great now. Like this is like one of the best times in my life I've ever been in, and just learning so many things and doing so many great things. Like if I was in college, I know for a fact I would have never put out my first cover. I would have never been working on music as much as I am now, and any of stuff like that. Like I would never, if I was still in college, I wouldn't be working on building a studio in my very own bedroom right now as we speak, which is something that is coming up, and I do plan on making a video about it. So if you do want to see that, you should definitely hit the subscribe button and follow me so that you can see the process begin to unfold. But I think that you have to really be smart about, you know, what you're passionate about. And that's another thing I wanted to say, is like you can't only go to school because that's what everyone expects of you, or it's because it's what your friends is doing. Like you really need to know that that's what you're supposed to do, because that's how you get places like me where you're just confused and you just feel overwhelmed and just done with life, basically because you made the wrong decision based off of something that someone else said to you or something else. Like you need to know for a fact that that's, you know, where God wants you to be at the end of the day. Like college isn't for everybody. College 100% was not for me. Nobody's convincing me to ever go back to college again. Like I know for a fact that's not for me. That's not what God has planned for me. But literally, like it's just not God's plan for me. Like I said, I'm still not sure why I ever thought it was, based off of how my high school experience went. So like I said, you know, I tried in high school to make good grades, But I was never like one of those people that was great at school. Like, I'm just naturally a smart person. You know, my dad is very smart, my mom is very smart. So I just grew up, you know, having knowledge and being smart, and school kind of came easy to me. And the school I went to, like, I'm not gonna say the academics weren't great, but the school I went to before that, like in middle school, was like a more advanced school. So when it came to me getting to high school, I already knew a lot of things that I was learning because I learned it in middle school at my other school because of how higher the academics were. So school was something that was like, came very easy to me. So I really like dicked around a lot in school. Like, I got in trouble. I was like a bad kid when I was in high school. Like, and not in the way you would think, but when you go to a small private Christian school, sneezing in class without permission is bad. So like, I was just in trouble all the time for stupid stuff. But I mean, my grades were always great. Like, at the end of the day, after freshman year, like, my grades were bad freshman year, and then after that I realized like I might as well try in school. So I did. But school was never for me. Like, I was never a person who studied. I was never, like, I didn't have to do any of that in high school. But, you know, college is a whole other thing. Like, you have to study, and that's why I was saying I wasn't sleeping, because you have to study in college or else you just suck. And, like, you have to really commit to college to really, like, you can't be one of those people that goes for fun. Like, no shade to anybody who says that they're only going to college just for, like, fun and shit like that. But, like, you can't, like, you have to fully commit to being a college student. It's like, if you want to go to college and be successful in it, you have to really be there for the right reasons. And I can't honestly say I was. I don't really know why I was going to college. I think part of me just wanted to experience college, you know, and that's great. But I still didn't even really experience it because I was commuting. I didn't stay on campus because I could never stay in a dorm. I hate dorms. I don't like them. They're just small and nasty, and the communal bathroom, I just can't. I just can't do that. But yeah, college just wasn't for me. And at the end of the day, I think that the whole point of me sharing my story is, number one, for the people who know me and clearing some stuff up for you, because I know people have a lot of questions as to why I don't go to school anymore, because I kind of just quit going and never talked to anybody about it ever. Like, I never explained it. So I just wanted to clear those things up, but also just to encourage you guys to really make sure that you know what your purpose is in life, you know, asking God to help you figure out what that is and see, you know, what you're supposed to do. I would hate for you to end up miserable and depressed like me, all because you're trying to impress other people or you don't know what you want in life. Like, it's so much easier to just know what you're supposed to do and then go chase after that instead of just wandering around lost for all this time. Like, you know, like I said, finding out what your purpose is and making that your number one priority, because at the end of the day, that comes before anything else. Like, knowing your place in this world, having something to truly live for is really important when it comes to being a young adult and making decisions that affect the rest of your life. Because the last thing that anybody wants to do is waste 4, 8, 10, 12 years of their life doing something just to find out that that was never their purpose all along. You know, your only question should be, God, what do you want me to do with my life? Like, why am I here? And then you run with that. You hear, you listen to him, you figure out what it is, and then you go and run with that. Like, I know for a fact I'm supposed to use my singing voice. At the end of the day, I wouldn't have that gift if it wasn't something I was supposed to use. So after that's over, me going to college to become a therapist or a counselor, like, that don't add up. Like literally, what the like, that shit don't make sense. And at the end of the day, like, can't wrap my mind around the fact that I thought like something like that was important back then, you know, but I just didn't have a clear understanding of who I was or what my purpose was quite yet. Like, I had an idea, but I didn't have the full picture, you know. I'm not making this video to be anti-college and all this stuff. I'm just saying that you don't have to go if you don't want to. If it's not going to truly make you happy, whatever outcome comes from you going to school, then you don't have to do it. And I'm not here to say that college is useless, because I don't believe that to be true. I just think that it's useless if it has nothing to do with the real reason that you're here on earth. And for me, it was useless, and I'm just here to share my story. I don't want people to be going through the same thing that I went through, you know, wasting time and money and sleep and stress and all this kind of stuff that's just like throwing you off just because you feel like it's what you need to do, or it's what everyone else around you is doing, or what your parents tell you need to do. Like, at the end of the day, you make your own decisions, and you should. It doesn't need to be about everybody else. No shade, nothing to any of the colleges I was participating in. They're all great schools, just weren't for me. And at the end of the day, nothing and nobody can change the fact that college isn't on my agenda, because it's just not a part of who I am as a person, who I am in Christ, and what my real purpose is on this earth. Me going to college wasn't going to help anybody, but doing what I love was going to help me connect with other people and help me reach more people, and I think that's beautiful. And I think that at the end of the day, that's all we're here to do is reach people and connect with them and show them the love of Christ. And you can't do that if you're not where you're supposed to be. Like I said, it's great to know that I will never have to wonder, but if I could go back in time, I probably wouldn't have gone to school because there was just no point, and it wasn't beneficial to me in any way, shape, or form, and that's just me. And you know, I know people who are in college and they're thriving and they're doing so great, and I'm proud of them, like, go off, period. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't for me. So I just want to encourage you guys to really take your decision seriously and make sure that it's what you want to do. Even if your parents threaten to, you know, cut you off and all that stuff, like, you'll figure it out. You know, God always has a plan. If you know college isn't for you, don't go. Like, you don't have to go to college to be successful. You don't have to go to college to do anything that you want to do in life. Like, unless of course you want to be like a doctor or an engineer or like, you don't have to go to school. Like, you don't have to do it. And so I'm not gonna keep repeating myself over and over again. Like I said, it's not for everybody. If it's for you, that's great. I'm proud of you. Keep going. Get that degree, sis. Get that degree, bro. Do what you gotta do. But if you feel like for any reason it's not for you, drop out. Don't go to begin with. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's not the end of the world if you don't go to school. And I'm not just saying that because I didn't go. I know from experience and knowing lots of people that it's not for everybody, and you shouldn't feel pressured to go. But I'm not gonna keep repeating myself. I've said all I need to say. I will catch you guys in my next video, and bye. It feels better, doesn't it? It feels better. It feels better, doesn't it? It feels better.